so all of your dreams and your aspirations and your pain and everything's all coming from this tiny little aspect of consciousness that's like a virus that's taken you over, and it's a painful virus.
Here, it just feels like light or quite a high frequency, and then thought and concentration feel like it's like a pain all through here.
Well, that's what it is. That's what I've been telling people forever. That's what fucking people living in their heads live like. It's fucking painful. It's horrific. But it's normalized. I've been saying that forever. That's what it's like. You feel the pain at some point. What that's like in comparison to freedom.
Yeah, and I guess it's just, yeah, I think it's good because it's really making me try and just stay as wide as I can.
Yeah, because you don't want to go into pain.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you learn to live from not pain. And you'll be clumsy for a little while. Logic is a human concept. It's an addition. So the Toltecs talk about the abstract a lot. But first you have to master the logical rational before you can rest in the abstract. Right? It's the leap-off point. Does that make sense? First you have to become rational and ruthless and on point, and then there's a platform there that you can leap to reside in the abstract. Yeah? They call it the point of reason. Let's call it the platform of reason. From the point of reason, you can go to the point of abstract, or the place of the abstract. Because logic is a construct. But reason gives you a stability and an understanding and a ruthlessness. You're not in delusion. You're not in dream. You're just in the original dream as it is. And from there, the abstract can be lived by, which will offer options and views on everything that are just far beyond anything reason and rationality can do. The stuckness of science, the level it hits a glass ceiling. But first, you need to be there with a scientific aspect and absolutely rational mind, absolutely reasonable, non-personal bias, as it is, which is what I keep saying to people. They take it personally, but it's about being non-personal. And from there, you can reside in the abstract. You, Mr. Bashar, was just talking about how she's got a pain in a thing every time there's like lots of brightness, and there's a pain here she doesn't understand. Well, it's always been there. It's just at some point you see it, and that's the pain of thinking and living as a thinker, a separate being going somewhere. Thought. It's painful. And now at some point you sense that pain, you get sensitive enough to understand the pain of it and how much pain you're walking around in. And then how every time you go to do it, it's painful and you want to not do it anymore. So then you start running, the other operating system takes over. But first you have to get rid of all your delusions, or as many as possible. So you can even get to the point where you can see how much pain you're putting yourself in by grinding your mind all the time. Because there's a certain sensitivity where that's experienced. So when I hear all these people that are deeply spiritual and they've got all the answers and they're full of shit. Because they're still thinkers. They grind their mind all the time. They don't know. And that thinker thinks it's a spiritual being. Until you see the pain of the thinker, the pain of the knower, you know nothing. Or you just know information. It's what I said to what do those people come around handing out the Christians say? I said, mate, until you know deep silence, you know nothing. We know nothing. I didn't say you. I said, until we know deep silence, we know nothing. You can only be in a level of ignorance. Because I think I propped his brain a little bit. But one guy registered, the other one was just in his shell, but the other one was like, that's the truth. So yeah, now it's time to acquiesce the thinker. the knower. And then a different thing happens where you'll get answers that you wouldn't have been able to get before. Because you're outside of the container you're given. Or by your family, friends, society. Logic is a construct. The attention of people is a construct. It's all a construct. And we're living in these predetermined channels and corridors we're trying to line up in, but none of them are real. It's all illusion. It's all samsara. And it starts with the separate I. It starts with the I thought. I want this. I want that. I need this. I'm not good enough. I. And none of it's real. So I'll entertain your stories, but that's because that's where you're at. But it doesn't mean it's real. Doesn't mean I, on deeper levels, agree with any of it. It's just that's the point we're meeting at. It's the interface place. That's our current interface. And I'm not, that's the same for all the conversations we have.
Also a layer of vulnerability with it, because it's kind of just sitting in like unknown, and even
scary. Being
around people, I just feel different, or like the way that I am interacting, or
it's scary to trust it.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling that a little bit.
It's scary to trust it. And then when you're around people that are just fully in their paradigms and locked down, it's just almost abhorrent. It's just, so there's a time where you have to pull back a bit, and take that space and work on, much like Sue's got to work on her recovery, you've got to work on getting your space when you need it and still manage life. So it's a very vulnerable thing. Yeah, you have to go deep into vulnerability. This game is going into your deepest vulnerability and resting there and making that okay. You're just dropping all your defenses. Right? And that's going to be vulnerable. But once you feel the pain of thought and that is just like, it's unoptional. It's like, oh, I want to stick my hand in the fire. There's just a natural response not to do that anymore that you have to allow to play out. Because that's not an option. Putting your hand in the fire is not an option anymore, is it? It's just silly. Right? So let that naturalness take over, because it is absolute naturalness. You're not doing something extra. You're reducing and refining. You're refining back to absolute naturalness. And you're going to feel vulnerable in that. Because there's thousands of little pinpoints of not naturalness all through our system that are afraid of it. And I understand that, recognize that, let them go. Playing with the mind is stupid. At some point that becomes very clear, experientially. Especially the front part of it. Like, you'll use it for calculating, but you want to put it down real quick. You've got to work something out. And you'll do it in a way that doesn't burn. So it'll be handled very differently. But I'm talking to you now, but it's all coming from behind. It's not coming from here. And so there's not the noise happening. It's silent here. It's silent words. Make sense? This is a painful aspect, but sometimes you might have to go and calculate something or work out a new technique on something, and you have to go utilize it and surrender it again. It's just a tool in the toolkit. It's not it. But everyone thinks it's it. You see? It's just a virus. It's like a virus that took over everything. So it was just a conversation with Shyama basically about how she's feeling a lot of pain in her forehead. And I was saying to her, yeah, that's thinking. That's what it does. A lot of you guys are living, or some of you guys are living fully from your front part of your brain, and it's an extremely painful part. And at some point you get sensitive enough where it's like putting your fingers in a fire and you don't want to do it anymore. And so all of your dreams and your aspirations and your pain and everything's all coming from this tiny little aspect of consciousness that's like a virus that's taken you over, and it's a painful virus. And you think you're it. And it's a virus. It's just stop it. It's just an aspect. Put it down as soon as you can. Calculate something, put it down. And then even work out if you even needed to calculate that. You'll just find that you hardly need to do anything. Everything's happening. Everything's sorted. And this is like a time machine where it brings you into time, and time is suffering, and you start to believe the future and the past is everything. And you lose now through this. And it's a pain mechanism. It's a calculator that took over the whole thing, but calculators are very limited, aren't they? You know, your calculator in your phone, how often do you use it really? But suddenly it's taken over the whole mechanism and it's calculating everything and comparing everything. It just lives from this opposites and calculations. And if you live in it, you're going to be in pain. It's just how it is. So Shyam is now dropping into the level where that you can sense that pain. You're wondering what the hell it is. What is that? What is this weird vibration? Oh, that's the mind everybody's living in around the planet, and that's the pain you feel when you go out because it's soaked into the bodies. It's been stored in the bodies, and it's all through the nadis. People are walking around with the remnants of lifetimes of living as a mind with some little gaps of happiness and joy here and there and true-heartedness. That's the disease of humanity. That's where all the spiritual people are, all the popes are, the priests, a lot of the monks. It's where everybody's living in their head. That's a mind in time. And it's the last part of the brain. It's the addition the other end, everything else doesn't have. And it's what got us here on Zoom, trying to make it work. But it's also the thing that tortures us. It's got us into abundance where we can go to a supermarket and just grab whatever food we want from whatever corner of the planet we want. And all these wonderful things, but it's also tortured us. That's the price. That was the exchange. So when I'm speaking to you and we're doing satsang, these are words from silence. These are not words from here. There's experiences of life this speaker has had that may colour the silence, words that colour it to try and meet you. And so you can understand what I'm saying, but they're coming from silence. They're not thought out. So there's somewhat of an interface that this comes through. So sometimes the words aren't quite right, but it's self-correct. The speaker's vocabulary is not huge. But that's better than having a huge vocabulary and no peace. Because you live as a head that needs to know stuff. There's so many things that I've never cared to know. And that was coming from something deeper. I don't need to know everything. All you need to know is what you are. That'll take care of everything. And eventually the parasite that took over will be taken care of. The parasite that pretends to give you something but takes everything from you. It takes you from you. It makes you not enough. So you have to go do all these crazy things to be enough. The answer's not there. It was a lie. It's theft. It's the robber. As Romana called it, the robber. The thief, the crook, the liar. Don't trust your mind. Your mind is a pain mechanism. that was supposed to just be a calculator turned into a monster. You already know what you need to know. What you don't know will be revealed or it won't. That's how it's supposed to be. So let that be. Stop forcing everything. Stop forcing. It's causing you pain.